Hello everyone. Today what I'm going to do is show you how to completely take down the Glock Gen4 G23 40 caliber pistol. The mechanics of it should be the same for just about every Glock in the 40 caliber series. I'm not for sure about the 9mm series. Tools that you would need will be pretty basic and simple. I use a roll of tape, which you will see for here in a little bit. A 30 seconds punch. I know you can get one from, a Glock Armory or whatnot. If you don't feel like waiting, you can go to Home Depot or Lowe's and get the same thing. It works just fine. A 30 seconds punch and a small flathead screwdriver, which will be used later. First thing that you want to do is make sure that your pistol is safe to use. There's no magazine in the magazine well, and we're going to pull back the slide and check, and there is no bullet in the chamber. Now that we're good on that, you're going to have to take apart the slide assembly. Let me readjust my camera here. It keeps on moving on me. Okay, we're going to take apart the slide assembly. The way you're going to do that is you're going to point your pistol in a safe direction and squeeze the trigger, because that's going to release the mechanisms. And you're going to use the spring takedown to release the slide. And the way we're going to do that is we're just going to grab it from the back, like so, and just kind of pull back on it a little bit, just a hair. See, only taking it back a little bit. And then you're going to pull down on this takedown levers, and it should come right off. Now that we've gotten that, it just slides right off there. Now we got this and this. Okay, now we're going to mess. Oh, my laser light came on. Gonna mess with it here. All right. First, we're going to have the guide rod laser. As you can tell, it's flashing. I love it. Most of you will not have this. You'll just have your regular guide rod. You're just going to simply just pull it out. And like I said, I have the Laser Max guide rod laser. Love it. Going to take it out, set it off to the side, and then you're going to take your barrel, slide it back a little bit, and it just slides right on out. Now, I'm not going to clean my gun. It's pretty clean. I keep it clean. I clean it after every time I shoot. Okay, now here's where the flathead screwdriver comes into play at. What you're going to do is you're going to stick it in behind the striker pin. What you're going to look for is, if you pull this forward a little bit, there's a little tiny black piece in there. And you're going to take your flathead screwdriver and stick it in there and push down on it. What that's going to do is it's going to relieve the pressure on this back plate. Now, be mindful, if this is your first time doing it, be mindful to put your thumb over this back plate as you're sliding it down. The reason being is because there's pressure built up between the striker pin and the plunger that holds this in place. And if you don't have your thumb on there, then everything in there will come popping out, and you will possibly spend minutes, maybe hours, trying to find what you're looking for. What I do is, when I stick my screwdriver in there to push it down, I put the head of the screwdriver up against my chest, just to kind of give it some sturdiness, while using my two free hands to pull this down and my other thumb to keep pressure on here. Okay, what I did was I went ahead and took that off. You can see, and I've started on there on the if it'll focus here. I've started. You see the little gap here. So basically, what I want to do now is put my thumb over it, and with my free hand or with whatever, you know, however you feel comfortable, just slowly start moving that back plate down, and you'll hear a little snap maybe. You hear it? There's a snap. There's another snap, and that's those are those pins that were being free. Now that the pressure is off of it, you can see what I'm talking about. You've got your plunger and your striker pin here. Once you have those done, just go ahead and pull your striker pin out, set it down. Go ahead and pull your plunger, set it down. Back plate right here. Now, the other part is this. All you got to do to take that out is just take this and just simply push it down. And it just pops right on out. Just take it and dump it over and you're good. Now, something that I do sometimes, it's a little difficult. And you definitely got to be careful with this, because if you lose this cap right here, you will hate yourself, because this spring has a lot of tension behind it, and if you go to try to take this cap off, which is also compressed in here, this cap will go flying off, and there's no telling where at in your house that you will find it, if you find it. So the way you can take this off, though, is typically this goes in just like this. Pretty simple, right? So what you could do, you take it, reverse it, and instead of putting it down like this because you can't get it, just take it, your little tip here, turn it sideways a little bit, and very carefully pull your spring down. And as you're pulling it down, this cap will come out. It's two separate pieces. It's a half piece. One will fall down, and then you can just simply take the other one off. To put it back on, just remember, you know, this black piece only goes on one way. Spring only goes on one way. And once you see this cap it's kind of like a nipple. It goes down off into here. Just put it on the same way. Just, you know, put this black piece on, put the spring on over it, pull it down a little bit, and be sure you keep your pressure on it. Again, you know, maybe take this back in, put it up against your body. That way you can have a little bit of tension on it. Pull it down and put the cap back on. Release the spring gently, because again, you don't want these pieces to go flying off, and you're good. The key thing is here is always keep this striker dry, because once it starts building up with oil or whatnot, your gunpowder will start, you know, gunking up on it. So that's basically it for that. Wipe everything down. So we're done with the screwdriver. Now we're coming over to the trigger assembly. This is where the punches come in. Now you can use a 1/32 for all of them if you want. There's three pins that is going to be used to take out this trigger assembly. There's a pin here, a pin right here, which is a 1/32, and a pin back here, which is also a 1/32. This is only the 3/32. The pin that you want to take out first is this top pin. Like I said, that's with the 3/32. And this is where I use the tape for. I just take it and I'll put my hand grip down on it just like that. That way when I push through with the pin, it'll just fall in there. Most people use a hammer. I suggest not, because that's when you can start, you know, you can lightly tap on a hammer. But if you do, then you could probably damage something. My philosophy is if it doesn't come out easy on these Glocks, then something went wrong. Take out the first pin. See, it's simple. Don't need a hammer. It came through the other end, and you're just going to pull it out. This is your first pin out, and also will be your first pin to be put back in. And there's a reason for this. If you look very closely in here, your slide release, which is right here, there is a spring. You can see it right there. It's a little tiny spring. Maybe my camera isn't focusing, but you can see a little spring right there. And it is important to note that that spring is going to be underneath this pin. The reason being is if it's on top of this pin, when you go to shoot, you will have your slide locked back, and you will have a single fire pistol. So with that in mind, you're going to want to make sure that that is up underneath. Now your second pin, the 3/32 one, can be a little tricky. You may have to move and adjust your slide release sometimes because pushing this out, there's grooves in here that this slide release locks into. So with that being said, you may have to fidget with that just a little bit to get it out. Sometimes you may not have to. I'm going to have to. So while I'm pushing down, I'm going to fit. See, now it just came out, and I had to pull it up just a little bit. Then I'm going to go ahead and pull it on out. See how see how these first two pins are different? So you can't really get them messed up. You know, one's fatter than the other. Now for your last pin, it's going to be back here. It's what's going to release all this fun stuff up here. You may need a small pair of needle nose to get this out on the opposite side because it may be a tight fit or a tight pull. You may be able to pull it out, you may not be able to. This one's been difficult. And there's the small pin. Now you're ready to pull your trigger assembly out. You may have to use a punch, you may not have to. Use the smaller one to get your block out. All you got to do is just simply get it up underneath and just push it up. See how it just popped up right there? And just pull it out. Set it off to the side. Again, as you're taking this apart, you know, you can wipe it down. Here's that spring that I was talking about that needs to go up underneath the first pin. Once you get that, see, it just sits nicely off in there. A little blurry. But you'll see, it just sits nicely off to the side. And then it just comes out. And this is the spring that you need to make sure goes underneath that first pin. And then you're ready to take your assembly out. It just pulls right on out. And here's your assembly. Cool thing about this is right off in here, see how it crosses? Kind of like a crisscross here. Note on the other side that it fits in this groove. And right here it rests up against this little thing right here. To take this off, I found that it's pretty easy to do. All you have to do is pull a little bit. See how it's pulling? Because it's spring. Once you pull it a little bit, just rotate it and it comes right on out. This is where you can change your spring for a competition spring. This is also where you change your trigger pull. Stock pull, I believe, is about 5.5 pounds. And you can change it out for, you know, like, I don't know, 2.5, 3.5 pound, whatever you desire. And that's it. That's pretty much how you take apart your Glock and clean it. Of course, you know, everything is pretty simple. To put everything back together, you just want to go in reverse order. To put this in there, just kind of rotate it a little bit, pull it back. It can be a little tricky, but see how quick and easy that went back in there, and you're good. This is also how you'd be able to change your trigger if need be. Something right there. Now, with putting the Glock back together, you do not want to force anything back in. If it does not go in easily, then pull it out and try again. The good thing about Glock is they made everything pretty user-friendly, and it is easy to put together. So, that being said, I'm going to put the trigger in. Your back pin, which is right here, will fit in right there. So I'm going to slide that off in here. Got the trigger going up in there. Popped into place. I'm sure you heard that pop. I am going to make sure that I've got the right pin, which is going to be your smallest pin. And you're going to go in and just simply push it back in. Now, if you need to, you can take your punch and, make it flush back here. Okay, now that that's in there, all it's going to do is just this front part's going to, be free. Now, if you notice, your trigger is going to fit into this groove right here. It's going to sit off in there. Your slide release, everything only goes in one way, by the way. So, you can't put anything in upside down or anything like that. You're going to set it right there. There's a little slot for it, and it's just going to sit right in that little slot. Again, the pin, all these holes are going to line up, all these pin holes, and it's just going to sit very nicely right up in there. And then you're going to take your block and set it right on top of that. Again, that is going to slide very nicely in there. See how it just clicked in there? That didn't do. That's kind of sitting off. Be careful of this pin. It can bend on you a little bit. Finicky. I just kind of hold it down there. Okay, sorry, had to stop the video there for a little bit. It was being finicky with me. Again, like I said, you want to make sure your first pin that you took out is your first pin that you put back in. So we're going to go in the top one here. I'm going to push it in slightly. May have to do some adjustments on the block. We're going to come across, ensure that your slide release spring goes underneath the first pin, and just go ahead and push it on through. And then just release. Like I say, I just did it with my finger, and we're good. Now we're going to take our third and final pin and slide it in. It's stopped right there. So again, we're going to have to maneuver this around a little bit. Oop, came out. See, it came out a little bit, and I just put it back in, and now it's all good. Okay, now that we've got that together, we are going to put everything back together in the slide. Again, the first thing that you want to put in on this is your little stopper here. Just kind of set it, and see there's a little spring there. You're going to set it in, just hold it. This will only go in one way. Try to put it in upside down, and it just won't work. So if you drop it, it's no biggie. I've dropped it a couple of times. You'll know if it fits or not when you go to put it in. You could just, when you go to put it in, just depress the plunger. It'll slide right on in, and just let it go. If it stays, then you got it in right. If it doesn't, then you're good. Another way you could tell is there's a little, lip, so to speak, right here. Little lip right there. There we go. Focus a little bit. That goes towards the front. Okay, now doesn't matter how you put these in. Your white tip on your plunger. Then you have the hard metal piece that's going to go on the inside. It's going to go in the smaller hole there. So we're going to slide it in. And then we're going to take our striker pin. Remember, if you took it apart, how to put it get back together. You're just going to simply, go the opposite way and put it in. We're going to slide it in there. Now, all this is nice, good, and pressure. We are going to take our back plate, slide it up just a little bit. You could typically use your thumb or finger to depress it just a little bit. While you're depressing, kind of just push up on the back plate to slide it up. See how it just slid up? The plunger is a little bit more difficult. I just, take your little screwdriver or your punch actually, and just push it down a little bit. And while you're pushing it down, go ahead and slide that back plate up. Once you got it down and up, it just snaps right on in there. Once we got that, we can drop our barrel back in there. Once we got that, if you have the Laser Max laser, you pretty much know how to go in there. This will go, if you have the regular guide rod spring that comes with it, it doesn't matter how you put it in there. Mine will start coming on. Again, this is what the laser does. It'll shut off once I put it on. Make sure your rails are lined up. See, it just came off. And voila, we're done. Now what you want to do is you want to go ahead and pull it. Make sure it works. If it works, you'll hear the dry fire. There's the dry fire. Pull it again. Make sure it resets. Keep your fingers on the trigger while you pull it again. Then you'll hear the reset. Hear the reset, and then just pull it again. I do this 2 or 3 times. And we're good. That's how you completely disassemble and put back together the Gen4 G23 40mm. Thanks for watching.